I found a hidden room in my late grandpa's house. Now I'm being watched. I'm 27, and like a lot of people my age, I was completely burned out by the city. The endless noise, the impossible rent, the constant pressure to be something. So when my grandfather passed and left me his old Victorian monstrosity in the woods of Vermont, it felt like an out. A weird, dusty, slightly haunted out, but an out nonetheless. Everyone told me to sell. My friends, my mom, even my real estate agent practically begged me to take the cash and run. But there was something about the place. I remembered visiting it as a kid. Faded wallpaper, crooked hallways, the musty smell of old books and wood smoke. It was creepy, yeah, but nostalgic too. A weird comfort. Plus, I had this half-baked plan to fix it up and document the whole thing on YouTube. City guy renovates haunted house kind of content. I figured it might go viral, or at least make the renovation costs a little more manageable. At first, things went surprisingly okay. Hard, yes, everything was falling apart, but manageable. I started uploading videos weekly. People loved the eerie aesthetic of the house. My subscriber count climbed. It felt like maybe I'd made the right choice. Then I started noticing things. The blueprints I found in the attic didn't line up with the actual layout. There were sections of the house that just shouldn't exist. The upstairs hallway was about 3 feet too long. A closet was deeper than the floor plan said it could be. I brushed it off old house quirks, right? But then there was the basement. It was always the worst part of the house, low ceilings, constantly damp, just wrong somehow. I tried to avoid filming down there, but one night, I heard something. Scraping. Behind the wall. I followed the noise to a far corner, behind an old oil tank, and that's when I noticed it, a thin seam in the concrete. Like a vertical scar. I tapped it and the sound was off. Hollow. Different from the surrounding wall. I dug around the basement for hours. Eventually I found what looked like a rusted hinge embedded deep in the concrete. A door. A sealed door. I don't know what possessed me, honestly. Curiosity? Ego? Stupidity? Maybe all three. I should have stopped then. I should have called someone. But instead, I made a plan to open it on camera. Secret door behind the basement wall felt like perfect clickbait. It took me days to chip away the concrete. I documented everything, every step. My viewers were eating it up. Paranormal speculation was flying in the comments. But once I cracked through, it stopped being fun. There was a room behind the wall. Narrow. Stone-lined. And something was in there. I didn't know it yet, but opening the door would be the worst mistake of my life. I broke open the concrete wall. Behind it was a room that wasn't on any blueprints. And it had a bed. A journal. And a camera pointed at the wall. I honestly thought I'd find nothing. Maybe some old wiring or a crawlspace. Worst case scenario, a nest of rats. But what I found was a room. Hidden behind a solid wall of concrete. No door, no knob, no light switch. Just a sealed cell, like someone built the house around it. The air inside was thick. Dusty. Stale in a way that made me feel like I was breathing in someone else's history. The room wasn't empty, it was furnished. A metal-framed bed with a thin mattress, a wooden desk, a standing lamp with a cracked shade. Everything looked straight out of the 1950s, right down to the floral wallpaper peeling from the stone behind it. I remember just standing there, frozen. The silence in that space felt wrong. Like it had soaked up every sound and kept it locked inside. On the desk was a leather-bound journal. A thick one. Its pages were warped with age and what I think was water damage. The first entry was dated 1958. The handwriting, shaky, frantic, belonged to someone who signed only as E. And E was not okay. The entries started simple enough, they moved me again today. Different room. No windows. Then they spiraled. E wrote about being watched. About how the walls shifted when he wasn't looking. He claimed he was being kept here by them, though he never said who they were. Just that they were inside the house and always listening. And then I read the last entry. It was shorter than the others. Just one sentence, scrawled so hard the pen had torn the page beneath. They can't find me if I stop thinking. I didn't even realize I was holding my breath until I turned around and saw it. The mirror. A full-length mirror on the wall across from the bed. But something about it fell off. The angle, the depth, too thick for just glass. I stepped up to it and tapped. It rang hollow. I pulled out my flashlight and shone it against the edge. It wasn't a mirror. It was a one-way window. And behind it, barely visible through the dust-covered glass, was another space. Another tunnel. I stared at it for a long time. My body was screaming to leave. To go back up the stairs and seal the wall shut again. But I didn't. Because I needed to know. I had to know. I should have stopped. But I went through the tunnel. I thought the tapes were the worst part. Until I realized there was a camera watching me right now. After I watched a few more of the tapes, something in the house changed. At first, it was subtle, barely noticeable. Lights flickering that hadn't flickered before. Drafts in rooms where windows were sealed shut. The distant creak of floorboards when I wasn't moving. I tried to tell myself it was just my nerves, but that stopped working after night 3. Because then came the holes. Tiny ones. Pinprick-sized. I found the first near the ceiling in the upstairs hallway, just a little black dot in the wallpaper. Thought it was a nail hole or old termite damage. But then I noticed another, in the bathroom. One more above my bed. And one perfectly centered over the desk where I'd been editing my YouTube footage. They were all the same size. All aimed directly at where I'd spend the most time. And none of them had been there before. One night, I dropped my phone under the bed and reached for it. My fingers brushed something cold. A small black object. I pulled it out and stared at it for a long time before I even realized what I was looking at. It was a tiny surveillance camera, modern. Sleek. No dust, no corrosion. And on the back, a blinking red light. It was on. Transmitting. Someone had been watching me. Not years ago on grainy VHS tapes, but now. Recently. I tore the room apart. Found 2 more. One behind the bookshelf. Another tucked in a vent. I didn't sleep that night. I didn't sleep much after that. Something shifted in my head. I started hearing things that weren't there. I boarded up the mirrors. Stopped filming. I kept the lights off most nights. Stopped using my real name in texts. Even unplugged my laptop mic. I didn't want to be seen, or heard, or even known. I kept remembering what he had written. They can't find me if I stop thinking. At first, I thought he was crazy. Now I'm not so sure. Because then the dreams started. Always the same, I'm back in the hidden room behind the basement wall, except it's bigger, impossibly big, stretching in every direction. The bed is there. The mirror. And someone else. A figure in the corner, unmoving. Dark. Wrong. It's tall, but faceless, no eyes, no mouth, just the impression of a human shape, watching me with something deeper than sight. It never moves. Never speaks. But every time I see it, I wake up feeling like a part of me didn't come back. And then, 2 nights ago, I woke up and something had changed. There was a piece of paper on my nightstand. I didn't put it there. It was torn, yellowed, and folded neatly in half. 4 words. Written in jagged, uneven ink. You're too loud. I tried to leave the house. The roads were gone. Or maybe I was. I packed a bag at 3 a.m. and ran. Didn't even lock the door behind me. I didn't care about the tapes. The house. The channel. I just wanted out. I drove for hours, or I thought I did. But the GPS kept looping. Every turn, every side road, brought me back to the same stretch of trees. Same gas station, closed. Same dead deer in the road. No matter where I went, the arrow on the map spun in circles like it was stuck. Like I was stuck. By dawn, I gave up. I turned around and headed back to the house, thinking maybe I could try again with a real map, maybe call someone from a landline. But when I got back, something was wrong. The house looked the same at first glance, but the longer I stood in the doorway, the more it felt rearranged. The kitchen chairs were different, wrong wood, wrong color. A family photo on the wall was reversed, like it had been mirrored. Even my backpack, left by the couch, wasn't mine. Same model, but different contents. Different wear. I told myself I was losing it. Lack of sleep. Stress. But deep down, I knew the truth. This wasn't the house I left. I don't know when I am anymore. That night, I went back down to the bunker. I don't know why. Maybe to prove I wasn't insane. Maybe to find one more piece of the puzzle. There was one tape I hadn't watched yet, no label, just a timestamp. Dated today. I played it. The screen flickered. Static. Then, me. Standing in the bunker. Watching the tape. Wearing the same clothes. Same expression. Same breath. And then the me on screen slowly turned and looked directly into the camera. Into me. I shut it off. That's when I knew. This house, it's not a place. It's a trap. A loop. An experiment. Or maybe something older than all that. Something that watches, records, learns. I think it uses us to study itself. Or maybe to understand what we are. Now, when I'm alone, I hear whispers. Not from the walls, but from inside me. Sometimes in my voice. Sometimes in voices I've heard on the tapes. Sometimes in ones I shouldn't recognize. I tried to destroy the house. I did. I poured gasoline in the hallway, lit matches until my fingers blistered. The fire never caught. I brought my tools into the basement to tear down the walls. I turned around for 1 second, they were gone. Just gone. Like they'd never existed. Like I never brought them. And then tonight, I found the message. Scratched into the wall above the mirror. Not in paint. Not with a pen. Carved deep, like with a knife or a fingernail. This is where you end. I didn't write it. I don't know who did. I'm posting this while I still can. My phone's battery is draining faster than it should. The clocks don't work anymore. My reflection isn't synced with me anymore. If anyone reads this, please, don't think about the eye. I've been silent for 3 days. It helped. Until I slipped. And now, I think it's in my head. I haven't spoken. I haven't thought about it. Not really. I covered the mirrors. Turned off the lights. I started whispering nonsense in my head just to keep real thoughts out. Rhymes, random numbers, fake memories. It helped. The house got quiet. The walls stopped creaking. The holes stopped appearing. I could breathe again. But I made a mistake. I was dreaming, I think, and I saw it. Just for a second. Not the eye. Just the thought of it. That it was watching. That it knows when you think about it. And that was enough. Because when I woke up, I heard it. Not in the walls. In my head. It speaks in my voice now. It feels like me. It laughs when I try to scream and tells me my mouth isn't mine anymore. I haven't eaten. I'm not hungry. I haven't slept. But I keep dreaming anyway. I think I'm going back into the tunnel. One last time. I don't think I can escape. But maybe I can find where it started. Or maybe I've already been there. Maybe I never left. There's no time anymore. The clocks spin. The sun blinks. I keep seeing my reflection when I'm not facing a mirror. I'm typing this with hands that don't feel like mine. It's behind me. I can see my reflection blinking. I'm not blinking.